you guys can't hear me. Was I just muted the whole time? Yes, that's great. All right. I'd like to start the show with a little muting. All right. So we're going to start again. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everyone, for going to the Substack page. On Friday, it was a little rocky on my end, but pretty much a success. Mostly a success. So we'll do it again on Friday, and it'll be way smoother on Friday, I promise. But until Friday, we'll be here on Rockfin, Rumble, and YouTube. At the usual places. So sorry about the sound. And we are looking at Starship while I was talking with no sound. So yeah, it's interesting that the number of rockets that comprise the 33. Oh, just 33. What are the chances? So this is the second Starship that exploded in the last year. Second in a row. But we're going to Mars pretty soon. So don't you worry. Speaking of space flights, where are we? Did you hear about supposedly there was a private, I say supposedly because I don't know. People have their doubts about moon travel. A private company, the Blue Ghost, or Firefly's Blue Ghost, lands on the moon carrying NASA science. This just happened. Did you guys hear about this? Anybody hear about this? Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost Mission 1 successfully landed on Sunday near a volcanic feature. I think this is last week, though. When was this? March 2nd. The Blue Ghost lander is in an upright, stable configuration, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, people kind of have questions about the pictures that they're trying to send us. Being, kind of easily, I don't know. Does that look like that got to the moon? Can you guys see that? It looks like some tinfoil. Looks like some paper mache, but sure. Okay. First image captured by Firefly's Blue Ghost lunar lander. Okay. I mean, we're assuming at face value that this landed on the moon, but anyways, a successful moon delivery is part of NASA's CLPS, Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative, and Artemis campaign. We have already learned many lessons, and the technological and science demonstrations on board Firefly's Blue Ghost Mission 1 will improve our ability to not only discover more science, but to ensure the safety of our spacecraft. Somebody had questions about how long it took this to actually get. It's going to be there for 14 Earth days. or 1 lunar day. Apparently, it took a really long time for it to get there. So it's up there conducting, you know, investigations, experiments, etc. Supposedly, the Blue Ghost traveled more than 2.8 million miles. How can I see? I can't really see how long it took. Somebody said it took like 45 days for it to get there. And apparently, the first Apollo mission took like 3 days or something like that. Um, Soviet Union had a successfully mapped Venus, landed several spacecraft on Venus. Really? That's impressive. I did not know that. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find out how long it took the Blue Ghost to get there. Or what they said. 45 days. For the first 25 days, it orbited the Earth and then headed toward the moon, which took the remaining days to reach its destination. So it orbited for 25 days and then spent 20 days getting to the moon. I don't know. You know, sure. Maybe it was a meandering. Some people have questions about the photos here. Who, like, this must be this is definitely like an artist's rendering, right? This is not real. Book a ride. You can book a ride on the Blue Ghost. All right. There it is. That's kind of what it looks like. But did you see that picture that I showed of this? The picture they sent is that looks. I mean, it looks kind of tore down. It doesn't look like it's coming back. If that actually is a picture of the, I mean, it looks like crinkled up, um, you know, like some tinfoil and some paper mache and some stuff I found in the garage. That's what it looks like. Oh, can you guys see this? Jesus Christ. Okay, this is what it looks like, the picture. I'm having technical problems or operating problems today because I can't show the pictures and sound wasn't on for the first several minutes of the show. Sorry about that. Anyway, SpaceX exploded. The Starship exploded again, and somehow we're supposed to believe this guy went to the moon. But sure. What do you guys think? You guys have any opinions on this? You see that picture? Does that look like? I mean, first of all, you can't see the whole thing, and it looks like somebody beat it with a baseball bat. Does that thing look like it got to the moon or that it's coming back? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm having issues today. My bad. It's have you guys there's several videos of space station people like dropping wrenches or dropping things and it goes down as if there is gravity there. and they're kind of pretending to float in space. There's lots of those videos. Have you guys seen those? Do you guys believe that there's people on a space station? I know. It's 877 Fahrenheit on Venus. That's why it kind of seems strange to send spacecraft to. It's an incredibly hot planet, but hey, I guess you could survive 877 degrees Fahrenheit, or maybe just some spacecraft. I don't know. Maybe. All right, I'll try and get better about what I'm doing here today. Well, we're going to switch over to things on Earth and the trend of alternative journalists telling us that climate change is a scam based on the idea that, it's a tried and true formula, which is based on the idea that the people that lie to you lie about everything. So therefore climate change must be fake. But you got to think a little more about that one. And I agree. The people that are in charge lie to you about everything. That's, you can believe that and still believe that climate change is true, or at least see it with your own eyes or experience it and understand that it's something that's happening. I think there's a lot of evidence to that, but Denver says it confirmed what the atmosphere is on Venus, gave us the understanding we have of its atmosphere. Okay. Well, here's Jimmy Dore trying to tell you he's doubting climate change.
After living through Russiagate and after living through COVID, the Ukraine war, the Syrian war, 20 years of Afghanistan, I am now doubting climate change, especially since I found out that how easily medical journals are corrupted and how they can corrupt doctors at the top and all the way down to your local doctor and pharmacy. They can control and corrupt them to where they wouldn't give you ivermectin. I caught the editor of the British Medical Journal bullshitting and lying on Twitter, and I found out he was being funded by Big Pharma and he was lying about COVID. It was lying. He wasn't getting it wrong. It's just like the proximal origins paper. They said that definitely the virus came from a lab in Wuhan, and then Fauci throws a couple of $1 million and they go, oh no, it came from a wet market. I'm sure you can buy off a climate scientist just as easily. I'm skeptical now because all the predictions that people like Al Gore, John Kerry, they keep screaming at the top of their lungs how serious this is and how there's not going to be any ice in the Arctic and the coral reefs. And now the coral reefs are bigger than ever. None of their predictions have come through, and none of those people who...
That's actually, so I'm going to have to stop right there and just say, like, that's not true. That is not true. There's just so many things that are indicating, just because, we haven't, experienced a civilization ending calamity yet, doesn't mean that these things aren't true. We're seeing like regional calamities. We're seeing like flooding to the point of, destroying crops and all kinds of things. Hurricanes, wiping out whole towns, fires, wiping out whole towns. These are the things that were predicted by James Hansen and others. All the climate change scientists from decades ago all predicted all of these things that we're actually seeing now. So I don't know. I don't really understand when people say like, where is it at? Where's the climate? Dude, are you paying attention? Like, you really have to like intentionally not pay attention to say shit like this. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't understand it. You have to be really incredibly sheltered. You have to live in the US and just spend all your time in an air-conditioned box in front of a computer screen, purposely not looking at the news about all of the calamities that are striking the planet like every single fucking day. You have to intentionally not pay attention to these things because you're in your nice air-conditioned box in LA after the EPA, decades ago started having clean air standards, and they started putting catalytic converters on cars, and they started like shipping all the factories to China. So the air is cleared out, right? You can't see the brown chunk of air that used to sit on top of the LA basin in the 70s, Jimmy Dore. Or Chicago. He's from Chicago. Like, Chicago had insane smog issues back in the day. Right? So now the air is a lot clearer. You just can't see anything going on, and you're like, you can't like see it and touch it and taste it and smell it necessarily where you live. So it's easy for you to just go, "What climate change? I don't see anything." Wow, we had 100 miles an hour winds, and it, burned down everybody's house in two different sections of LA, but no. Yeah, no. In January, no. No climate change. Okay. I don't get it. I mean, here is actual, like, in 5 years in Austria, this glacier, the Gepatschferner glacier in Kaunertal, Tyrol, Australia, Tyrol, I don't know how you, Tyrol, I think, has dramatically retreated over the past 5 years. And also the Himalayas, right? Mount Everest is becoming, the path to Mount Everest is becoming barren and rocky, bare of snow. Like, the ice is retreating, all melting, going away, revealing all the, the detritus and debris and the human feces and human remains and all the camps and tents and pots and utensils that everybody left there in the last, 7-8 decades of like, we can do it, everybody go, let's go, we got to go to Mount Everest. Now Mount Everest is melting. Like that. These are documented things that are happening. These are actual things that are happening. Jimmy Dore, Jesus Christ. The thing is that climate change trademark, the thing that they're trying to use to make everybody like buy an electric car or get an efficient stove, or, trade your plastic straws for paper straws, or whatever, buy, different things in different packages. You're still buying stuff and consuming stuff. That's the whole problem, is that, they're trying to tell you climate change is a thing and it's really a problem, but we can fix it by buying different things. That's the message. That's climate change trademark. That's climate change as a marketing, tool. Slapping a Go Green sticker on a semi truck and saying like, this truck is good for the environment. It's the same thing. It's not any different. And if you had, 3,000 pound batteries in that truck, or however much they're going to weigh, driving that truck with no driver, it's still the same thing for the environment. It's absolutely nothing different, but they're going to tell you that it's going to, help us fix climate change if we do all that. It's just selling you a different thing. I think, I said as much. Planet of the Humans explained this to you years ago, which was climate change is still an ongoing disaster. It's not getting better. It's getting much worse. We're still destroying the planet hand over fist. It's just that the people with all the money have figured out a marketing scheme in order to get you to do the things that they want you to do. That's totally different from climate change. I just don't understand why people can't understand this. It's really not that hard. So either, Jimmy Dore is just trying to be one of the cool kids, or he's, is being dumb on purpose. I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't pay attention, and neither do any of these other neither do any of the alternative journalists that just have only one the one particular position on it, which is a limited hangout. It's a freaking limited hangout. And whether they're, knowingly or unknowingly, wittingly or unwittingly taking part in this limited hangout, they are taking part in a limited hangout. And it's, frustrating as all hell, because this you can see with your own freaking eyes. This is not AI. This is not a fake thing. These are glaciers melting. Jesus freaking Christ. Anyways. And the same journalists who are like, oh my God, there's microplastics and endocrine disruptors and chemical spills and dioxins. And, they, the same people that are, crying about, how much we're poisoning the planet. We are poisoning the planet. We're taking part in the civilization that poisons the planet. Well, golly gee willikers, humans can't possibly change the chemical makeup of the planet, even though they know damn well we're changing the chemical makeup of the planet. Anyways, it always strikes me as a little bit fishy or just dumb on purpose. I don't know. I don't know which one. Neither one is good, but if you're dumb on purpose, try not to do that. Leon Simons. I'm dumbfounded every time I see this methane graph. Here is another case in point. Methane is, way higher than it has been for the last 800,000 years. Way, way higher than the mean. And, we are here. He says maybe 55 million years ago. We don't know the last time the methane concentrations were this high. He says maybe 55 million years ago. And the point of it, the point of this graph is not like, oh, you didn't go back 55 million years, bro. Oh, it's been this high before, bro. No, the point of this graph is the rate of change. The rate of change when something, there have been many ice ages and hothouse Earths and ice ages and all of those things are climate change. And all of those things brought about massive extinctions or massive reorganizations of how, life operates on the planet. But all of those changes took hundreds of thousands of years, if not tens of thousands of years. And we're talking about doing something in 100 years that used to take tens of thousands of years, if not 100,000 years. So, yeah, this is totally different. This is totally unprecedented rate of change. And I find that it's just really easy to understand that one. I don't know why it's so difficult to understand that one, but it's okay. We're not to total calamity yet. So everybody can still sit in there, still get their super cheap fossil fuels or gas or whatever it is they're using, or battery powered or even solar power. They can still sit in their air conditioned rooms in Los Angeles or some other place and talk about how none of this is happening. Sure. I was going to talk about that real quick, Malcolm. Where is it? Somewhere in here. Nope, that's not it. Where'd it go? I gotta speed up the show a little bit. Jet fuel spills into the North Sea.
A cargo vessel collided this morning off the coast of Hull. These pictures that were sent to the BBC show smoke billowing from both ships. The American-flagged tanker is the Stena Immaculate. On the tracking side, it was seemingly at anchor outside Hull when it was hit by the Solong, a Portuguese-flagged container that was heading south from the Scottish port of Grangemouth towards Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The chief executive of the port of Grimsby East was told there was a massive fireball after the collision. Reports of people abandoning ship, lifeboats and firefighting teams quickly dispatched to the scene. More than 30 casualties have so far been brought ashore at Grimsby. The Coast Guard rescue helicopter was scrambled from Humberside alongside lifeboats from Skegness, Bridlington, Maplethorpe and Cleethorpes. This is the map of the location. The collision site is around 20 kilometres off the coast there. And if we switch to this map from marine traffic, then you will see that at the time, there were a lot of ships in that area. As you would fully expect, on any given day, there is a lot of shipping that comes in and out of the Humber estuary and the container port in Hull. So an obvious question, why was more care not being taken? Let's speak to our reporter, Rowan Bridge, who's...
Well, okay. I don't really want to listen to why there was not more care taken. We just know that there's never more care taken. Oh, going back to Starlink. Actually, there was a thread to this. Denver says the Starship Raptor engine comprised thruster. Its fuel is liquid methane and O2. Okay. Liquid methane. It's got to give you some bang. Going back to Starlink or Starship or Star SpaceX or Star something. This is an interesting. There were rumors that with the latest iPhone update that it was going to connect your phone to Starlink. And if you're skeptical about Starlink and maybe clued into the idea that Starlink is Skynet, that it's the, I've heard it said many times that the ultimate goal is that it's being put in place to ultimately serve as the control grid, the eyes everywhere, never being able to, escape the surveillance. Right. Yeah, it was carrying jet fuel. Yes. Malcolm Young. And jet fuel is pretty toxic stuff. Let's see. But the funny thing is this Forbes article is like, no, it doesn't do it. But yeah, actually it does. I love these articles because they're always like, no way, this is totally stupid, the thing that everybody's saying. And then down in the article, they're like, but it actually does do the thing that everybody's saying. It's so hilarious. Indeed. Joseph, heat from manufacturing and acquiring materials is barely registered in climate science. In physics, everything is considered as thermal mass. Also a thing that people who are only operating on the surface of, like, the bare minimum surface of a subject, but trying to tell you that it's totally fake, can't even grasp. So let's look at this. Apple's new iPhone satellite connection doesn't install Starlink on your phone. No, it doesn't install Starlink on your phone, but let's read this. When Apple released the latest iPhone update, iOS 18.3, rumors began to spread that Starlink had been downloaded on the iPhone. As if. Still, for some iPhone owners, satellite connectivity has just changed. Here's what happened. Despite rumors that Apple had been working in secret with Elon Musk's SpaceX, it wasn't Apple, it was T-Mobile, and later claims that Starlink was installed with iOS 18.3. The truth was rather different, though it could still result in something game-changing, i.e. connecting to Starlink. T-Mobile and SpaceX have formed a partnership, something that was done in secret. Why would it be done in secret? Why does it need to be in secret? I want to know. I mean, lots of people would like to know, don't you think? Don't you think? To provide access to Starlink satellites when T-Mobile subscribers air outside regular cellular or Wi-Fi coverage. Oh, I aired outside of the coverage. So I guess it's not just Apple. I suppose it's any phone that's on the T-Mobile network. So just switch out T-Mobile for Apple, and then you do have something of a. So they're saying that Starlink is like a backup in case you run out of your regular cellular coverage or Wi-Fi coverage. But I don't know. What is this? It's actually pretty big, Denver. T-Mobile. They actually acquired Sprint. So they're one of the I think there's only like two companies left, or it was like T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T. And I know there's smaller companies, but they all use their networks. Is there Verizon, I guess, would be the only other one I can think of, but I think Verizon is part of another company now too. Maybe it's AT&T. Yeah, T-Mobile is huge now. Anyways, the reference to something being a striking update came from a post on X from Mario Nofal. Anyways, he described the update as a game changer because, as they pointed out, it meant no more pointing your phone at the sky. Starlink works right from your pocket. So, like other compatible smartphones, the iPhone can connect to Starlink satellites through T-Mobile's 1900 megahertz band 25 spectrum, which the device sees as yet another terrestrial LTE roaming network. As far as the iPhone's concerned, it's business as usual. To make this connection, iPhone users still need to sign up for T-Mobile's beta to have any of this access, which is currently limited to a small but growing number of handsets. If users want to avoid this entirely, they can do that too. Okay, good to know. By turning off carrier-provided satellite features. This is simple to achieve, but opening up the settings app and choosing cellular and then the carrier and turning off satellite. I mean, okay, sure. So it sounds like this is very limited, but I don't know. It's opening the pathway to having basically everyone being able to connect to Starlink, or being, having Starlink be, and I'm sure it's being marketed as like, this is great. Like, what happens if your cell service goes down? What happens if there's, whatever, an interruption? Well, the satellite will be there and you'll be able to, everybody might want to opt for the satellite. I don't know. Do you guys think this is scary, concerning, weird? I don't know why they had to do the deal in secret. Was that a corporate, some kind of corporate shenanigans? Were they trying to undercut somebody? Were they trying to get in first? Or, I don't know. Or is it something that maybe people might have had more concerns about had they known what was going on? Turin says Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T are the big three. Yes. Verizon is actually bigger when it comes to cellular, sorry, I can't say that, coverage and customers. Yeah. Sounds like Starlink just got stealth added for roaming. Yeah, I feel like that they're just, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And even, I guess like anything else, like kind of like opting out of having your data scraped for AI. Like you can opt out, but does that mean they can still scrape your data? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm sure they're doing it in all kinds of ways. And when it comes out, 3 years from now or whenever they reveal that like, oh, we've been scraping your data anyways, even though you opted out, they'll be like, oopsie, sorry. Nobody will be held accountable. Nobody's going to go to jail. Nobody's going to pay a fine. Nobody's going to, maybe they'll pay a fine. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a class action lawsuit. Maybe, something like that. But like, they're just going to scrape your data anyways. They're just going to scrape it anyways. It doesn't really matter. And they're doing it all the time. And they literally are going to be like, oh, whoops, sorry. Oh, dude, we totally messed up on that one, bro. Oh, sorry. So if you opt out of satellite coverage, but you're still connecting to the satellite because it's satellite compatible or capable, who would know? Who would know? You would be none the wiser. Nobody would know. They're going to do it anyways. Bob, Uh, speaking of which, here's something along the same lines, I guess, of not knowing what's going on. DB Cooper mesh network, Starlink equipment, and tail of commercial jets. Okay. Volcaholic. Ladies and gents, I show you a clever piece of code running an entire bot farm. This is most likely what you're arguing with in triggering disinfo comments. I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe, most possibly. I think also you're probably arguing with people being paid or hired to argue with you. Sure, I'm sure they farm out or hire out the intelligence agencies, just hire people to, put in a couple hours a day of, jumping on people's videos, live streams, Twitter posts, Blue Sky, whatever it is, just jumping on people's posts and, stirring up an argument or countering with some, heavy-handed propaganda. That's totally obvious. You don't think that Starlink is operating on the scope that PR people suggest? Sure. I imagine it's very wide right now. I imagine what they're trying to do is implement, total and complete as they can get coverage. I imagine there are a lot of things that are in place or being put in place right now that, in a year or two, they'll be like, ta-da. Just like the, millions, hundreds of thousands or millions of robots being built in warehouses everywhere, right? Everywhere right now. They're just stockpiling these robots and dogs and whatever. Stockpiling. They're just building them and building them and building them right now, everywhere. And one day they're going to go, ta-da. And it's going to be like, oh, crap. Too late. Anyways. Can I see HIMARS from that monitor? Yeah. So yeah, but this is one of the ways that somebody was saying like that might explain the recent likes by skankily clad women with only one follower. Yeah, I mean, there's so many of those. So I see people talking about that all the time. the sex bots, the OnlyFans bots, are everywhere, and they jump on people's posts in order to. I think the point of that is to limit the reach of your post or to flag your post. But to anybody that doesn't understand that, it's happening to a lot of people. I see a lot of people talking about it constantly. All right. Let's keep going. Canada has a new prime minister. Trudeau is out the dough. Sorry, that was bad. Trudeau has got to go. Trudeau got the heave ho. Trudeau's feeling mighty low. He's not feeling the post-election glow. In Parliament, they had a row. Okay, I'll stop. But a lot, Trudeau basically is a he's one of the he's one of the in guys. He's very weft up, very connected. He's worked for the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada, so he's one of those guys. Mark Carney has won the Liberal leadership race and is now the Prime Minister. Only in Canada can an unelected private citizen with 3 passports be chosen as the country's leader. So much for democracy. So this was a party coup, basically. I mean, it's been on the writing was on the wall. The writing has been on the wall that Trudeau was there. There was going to be a change. Because he was not popular, and there were too many people looking at him going and he is just not popular. Like, people really do not like Trudeau anymore. And so they finally got it together in the Liberal, they decided, well, we're going to do something different. But he was not elected. Carney. Where are we?
Of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote. In first.
So, and a lot of people are, saying that he needs to call an election, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people pointing out his connections to certain entities. Sorry. Well, we'll watch this first. By the way, guys, if you like the show coming to you for free, 99 Monday through Friday, and you want to support the show because you want to see the show continue to come to you for free, 99. There are lots of ways to do it in the description box. All the usual suspects are there: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, Patreon. And many of you support the show on a regular basis. You know who you are, and I appreciate you. This post, Ryan Garrettson, you get to see glimpses of the real Mark Carney during his speeches. He feels he is so above everyone. This is him all but mocking Canadians on how he managed to avoid having to disclose his assets. This is not a good man. He's a self-serving elitist. Aren't they all?
Full disclosure. I know the leader of the opposition's into full disclosure, so I'm going to... Full disclosure. Full disclosure. Just want to get this on the table. Bob goes to my church. Full disclosure. I know the leader of the opposition's into full disclosure, so I'm going to... Full disclosure. Full disclosure.
Okay. And then, you know, he's also tied to other people as well, apparently. Other folks. This is him hanging out with her. But they all seem to hang out with her and him eventually. Right? Denver says whoever they put in there is assured to be worse if it's anything like it is in the U.S. And it is. Yeah. You know, they installed a BlackRock executive. And this guy is a former Bank of England. Hold on one second. There's a little more to dig up on him. You know, he has ties to particular financial entities. People are pointing out might make him suspect. He's a WEF globalist, post-national state lunatic net. He's also, you know, super into climate change. TM, the TM part. Let's see. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm getting there. He was a former Bank of England governor. So that's, you know, Bank of England. Here, let's look over here. Let's see. Well, he's the prime minister designate. Let's see. Okay. He had various roles at Goldman Sachs. Went to the University of Oxford. Joined the Bank of Canada. Deputy Minister for the Department of Finance Canada. Governor of the Bank of Canada. Where he was responsible for Canadian monetary policy during the global financial crisis. Okay. He was the governor of the Bank of England. Where he led the British Central Bank's response to Brexit in the early phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. Served as chair and head of impact investing at the Brookfield Asset Management and as chair of the board of directors for Bloomberg LP. He was appointed the United Nations Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. Oh, he's definitely climate change TM. So there you go. There's some brief info on him. He's the city manager. He broke the Bank of England. Well, they're saying a former what's her name? A former prime minister says he had terrible that he had some terrible outcomes for the UK. It's a trustworthy face, right? Unelected, hired technocrat. I mean, I think that's how it works now. Even if you are elected, right? I don't, we live in fascism. I don't know how you elect somebody in the middle of fascism. We don't really have free and fair elections. We don't really get to have a wide variety of choices. You always end up with like two, ever increasingly terrible choices every single time. Sounds like democracy to me. What else do we have going on here? I mean, I think Israel is cutting off electricity to Gaza a week after cutting off all supplies of goods to the territory. Sounds like they're adhering to the ceasefire. They are not. Israel has sought to press Hamas to accept an extension of the first phase of their ceasefire. Okay. Well, Aaron Mate, this is not only a violation of the ceasefire, but a blatant war crime. But sure, there's a ceasefire going on, sure. Imagine if somebody cut your electricity off for several days. They cut off the electricity supply to Gaza, officials said Sunday, affecting a desalination plant producing drinking water for part of the arid territory. Hamas called it part of Israel's starvation policy. Israel last week suspended supplies of goods to the territory for more than 2 million Palestinians. Sounds very humanitarian, an echo of the siege it imposed in the earliest days of the war. Israel is pressing the militant group to accept an extension. Do Hamas need to be pressured, or is it who's the one that's not agreeing to it? An extension of the first phase of their ceasefire. I think that phase ended last week. Israel wants Hamas to release half of the remaining hostages, to which Donald Trump has threatened, sent, full-throated, all-out death threats to the Palestinian people over the releasing of hostages. So, that's always fun. Super anti-war Trump there. Which I think people had hoped that he would be kind of anti-war, but if you were paying attention, probably wouldn't be good to put a lot of faith in. Yeah. And MAGA is, I think his constituency that was the platform they were really supportive of, was an anti-war platform mostly, and they're beginning to wonder what's going on. I'm sure. Hamas instead wants to start negotiations on the ceasefire's more difficult second phase, which would see the release of remaining hostages from Gaza, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and a lasting peace. Israel wants Hamas to release half of the remaining hostages in return for a promise to negotiate a lasting truce. Say what? So it sounds Hamas wants to negotiate, and Israel's like, no, we just want a promise to negotiate. And Hamas looks like they want to see the release of the remaining hostages. So I don't know why they're pressuring him. It sounds like Hamas actually wants more than Israel does, but somehow, for some reason, Israel's like, you better agree to our terms. And Hamas is like, we're trying to actually do a little more than you were asking for. The withdrawal of Israeli forces, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Hamas is believed to have 24 living hostages in the bodies of 35 others. The militant group, which has warned that discontinuing supplies would affect the hostages, said Sunday that it had wrapped up its latest round of ceasefire talks with Egyptian mediators without changes to its position. Israel has warned when it stopped all supplies that water and electricity could be next. Wow. The territory and its infrastructure have been largely devastated. Most facilities, including hospitals, now use generators. Hazem Qassam said that Israel has practically cut off electricity since the war began and called the latest decision part of Israel's starvation policy in clear disregard for all international laws and norms. I mean, I think that they're insisting that Hamas negotiate is like a gaslighting thing. So there we go. They're just murdering people in Syria right now. Whole families, Muslims, Jewish. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's just more of the same basically, but it's, how you can call this a ceasefire, I'm not sure. Israel has faced sharp criticism over suspending supplies, and they're like, oh my God, sharp criticism. The International Criminal Court said there was reason to believe Israel had used starvation as a method of warfare, which is a war crime, when it issued an arrest warrant for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last year. The allegation is central to South Africa's case at the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of the genocide. Israel has denied the accusation, saying it has allowed in enough aid and blaming shortages on what it called the United Nations' inability to distribute it. It has also accused Hamas of siphoning off aid. The leader of the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, warned Friday that attacks against Israel-linked vessels off Yemen would resume within 4 days if aid doesn't resume to Gaza. The Houthis described their earlier attacks as solidarity with Palestinians there. All right. And, it just goes, the horrificness goes on and on. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I don't know if anybody has contributed today. Let's check it out. I just don't know. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. I appreciate you. And I'm going to see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to do the whole dang thing again. Yep. Yeah, that's for real, Denver. I mean, I don't know, but we're the good guys that are going to come in and stop it this time. Supposedly there was like the allies and some people that were supposedly horrified came into end carnage, even though they were doing some carnage themselves. So carnage is big business, you know what I'm saying? And we're just the guys that do it. All right, y'all. Yes, controlling language is paramount to Zionism and empire. Yes, Joseph. Yep. Switch up the language, change the meanings of things, gaslight the ever-living mess out of everybody, and then ultimately just do what you want. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow. And until next time, peace.